All right, coaches, welcome. Today, we're going to sharpen a tool that, I'm not kidding, can fundamentally change your practice. We're talking about the ability to see what's really going on in a session, not just what you think is happening. We're going to use some powerful Gestalt principles to get past all that interpretation and into pure, clean observation. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. First up, we're going to take a look at our own perception. Then we'll draw a really clear line between facts and assumptions. After that, we'll get our hands dirty with a pretty cool exercise involving a Picasso painting. Then we'll unpack the why behind it all with something called the Gestalt awareness cycle. And we'll wrap up by tackling a big one, how to coach through resistance.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Before we can help our clients see their world any more clearly, we have to get a handle on the automatic filters and shortcuts our own brains are taking all the time. Real powerful coaching, it always starts with self-awareness.
Take a quick look at this. What did you see first? The young woman kind of looking away, or the older woman in profile? Now, there's no right answer here, but the fact that you saw one of them first, that's the whole point. Your brain didn't wait for permission, did it? It just instantly organized all those lines and shadows into a familiar pattern, into a whole.
And that right there is the core idea. Our brain is basically a meaning-making machine. It's constantly taking in millions of bits of data and instantly deciding what's important, what's just background noise, and what story it all tells. As coaches, our job is to hit the pause button on that machine, first in ourselves and then for our clients, so we can see the raw data before the story gets written.
And this brings us to what might be the most critical discipline for any coach, really getting the difference between facts and assumptions. This distinction is everything. It's the difference between creating clarity and just adding to the confusion, between empowering your client and just slapping your own story onto their experience.
The idea is pretty simple, but it's so profound. On one side, you've got facts, things you can actually objectively see and hear. On the other side, you have assumptions, all the interpretations, the judgments, the stories we tell ourselves about those facts. So for example, a client says, "My project is late." That's a fact. Your brain might jump to, "Oh, he's failing." That's an assumption. All of a coach's power comes from staying firmly on the facts side of the street.
So here it is, the golden rule. When we're giving feedback, we only operate with two kinds of data. First, there's external data. I notice your shoulders are slumped, or I heard you use the word impossible 3 times. The second is your own internal data. As you say that, I feel a tightness in my own chest. See what's missing? Your story, your judgment, your interpretation? We just avoid that stuff completely.
All right, theory's great, but coaching is a practice, right? So let's roll up our sleeves and actually give this a try. We're going to do a quick exercise right now to train those observational muscles.
The rules here are super simple. I'm going to show you a painting in a second. I want you to pretend this painting is your client sitting right there with you. Your only job is to describe what you observe, following that golden rule we just covered. That means no stories, no judgments. You ready? Okay, here's our client for today. Picasso's The Weeping Woman. Just take a moment. Really look at the lines, the colors, the shapes. What do you actually see? And what do you feel in your own body in response?
So a super common response here, a total assumption, would be something like, wow, this client is obviously devastated, just completely broken. But see, that's a judgment. It's a story. And it basically closes the door on the conversation. Now, look at the right side. I see sharp angles and a hand near the mouth. As I look at this, I'm feeling a sense of agitation. Can you feel that difference? The first one is just a label. The second one, that's an invitation. It's clean data that you can hand back to the client so they can make sense of it.
So now that we've practiced how to observe cleanly, let's look at the psychological framework that explains why this is so incredibly effective. And this is what's called the Gestalt awareness cycle. When it's working properly, this cycle is happening in all of us, all the time, completely naturally. It starts with a simple sensation. My mouth feels dry. That leads to an awareness. I must be thirsty. That awareness prompts you to mobilize energy. I should probably get up and get some water. Then you take action. You pour a glass and drink it. You make contact with the water, and it feels good. And finally, you assimilate that learning. Okay, dry mouth means I need water. Simple, right? It's complete and satisfying.
So, whenever we see a client who is stuck, what's really happening is that there's an interruption somewhere in this natural flow. Maybe they have the sensation, but they block the awareness of it. Or maybe they have the awareness, but they just can't mobilize the energy to take action. Your job, using that clean observation we talked about, is to help them see for themselves exactly where their cycle is breaking down.
Which brings us to our final and maybe most practical part of our session today. How do we actually use these observation skills to help our clients work through these interruptions, or what Gestalt theory calls resistances? Let's start with a classic one, projection. This is simply when a client takes something that is true for them, a feeling, a thought, a belief, and they assign it to someone else because it's just too uncomfortable for them to own.
You'll hear this stuff all the time. The focus is always on the outside. They are the problem. He is the one with the issue. All the language points outward, away from themselves. It's a really common way to interrupt that cycle between feeling something and becoming aware of it. A really powerful and totally non-judgmental way to intervene here is to just mirror back the external data. You could say something like, "I'm hearing a lot of they and them, and I'm just wondering, where are you in all of this? What's it like for you?" This gently invites them to bring the focus back home, to their own experience. Okay, next up is introjection. I want you to think of these as swallowed rules. These are beliefs or values that a client has just adopted wholesale from their family, from society, from their company, but they've never really stopped to examine if those rules actually fit them. This one often sounds like an absolute truth, like a universal law. You'll hear words like should, must, always, and never. It's a belief that interrupts their natural cycle by forcing an external rule on top of their own internal awareness. A fantastic intervention for this is to help them connect that rule to their own identity. You can just say, "I see, and if you do exactly that, what kind of person does that make you?" See how that question moves the conversation from some abstract rule to a very concrete, personal experience? It lets them decide if they even value the identity that rule creates. And here's a quick little cheat sheet for you. Just listen for these patterns. When you hear "they are the problem," start thinking projection. When you hear "this is how it should be," think introjection. If you hear "it's all my fault," that's retroflexion, turning feelings inward. And whatever others want is a classic sign of confluence, losing yourself in the group. These are your cues.
So the crucial point in all of this is that your role isn't to diagnose or to fix any of these patterns. Not at all. It's simply to be a clean mirror. By sharing what you see and hear without any judgment, you give the client the raw data they need to see their own interruptions in the cycle. And that awareness, that's what empowers them to make a new choice.
And that's really our focus for today. As you head into your next coaching session, I want you to carry this question with you. In that split second, when your brain wants to leap to a conclusion and write a story, can you just pause? What will you choose to observe instead of assume? And what kind of clarity could that one single choice unlock for your client?